Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Colorado Rockies playthrough. My name is Alex Murray, also known as AZ Axel. Welcome to quarter two's video at this point. And as you can see, things are going about as well as I expected. We have had some new additions to the team. We've had some adjustments of players, and we had 54 losses on the season so far and only 33 wins. So it is going about as expected at this point. We have gotten all the way up and through the first year player draft. So we'll talk about our draft. We'll talk about how our development has been going with some of the players. I don't believe we did much deep dives into some of our prospects. I think we just mentioned them basically. So we're going to take a little bit more time to actually work through some of these prospects and make sure that you guys can get a good idea of who we are investing our team into for the future. All right, so in order to be able to get you guys familiar with the team, we have had some major advancements in our top prospect, Charlie Condon. Condon is now officially, if we get it off of AAA rankings, he is now officially 2 out of 4.5 stars as an overall player at this point. So he has had some very big increases, and you can see from his statistics for the season, we started him out in single A, absolutely destroyed single A. We've put him into single A plus, which is basically A plus ball. He absolutely demolished A plus ball, and we actually have just called him up to double A. He's now officially the number 3rd overall prospect in baseball as of this time, and we are very excited to see how he can become probably our first baseman of the future. There is a very high chance that Charlie Condon will probably be playing first base for us next year in spring training, because if he gets enough time in double A, I would not have a problem jumping him straight to the majors at the age of, what would that be now, 23 next year, basically. That's pretty good. In regards to people like Richard Dominguez, international complex signings are not going to really have much development because they're just really not playing a whole lot. So our only real adjustments you can see from his little bars down here in the bottom right hand corner. So the control and the movement have gone up a little bit. The movement's been a little bit susceptible to the potential ratings. You can see that in the bottom right hand corner, but the stuff and the control have both been at least averagely developing. So we're still pretty confident that Richard Dominguez should be able to develop at least into a 4-star potential pitcher, unless he starts having some problems. That work ethic and intelligence is going to help a lot in helping him be able to actually be a good potential person to hit his full potential at this point. Chase Dollander has done okay down in the minors. He is the number 16 overall prospect. That's mostly because he's almost fully developed. That's the problem. He's really a borderline starting pitcher. He might do okay. He has had a fantastic season in single A. We have finally given him the call up to double A once again, just because of how well he was doing down in single A. We are still hoping and praying that Robert Calaz will be able to develop a little bit faster and better. He had a very good season in the rookie ball system. He is still down there right now. He's got some pretty good outfield ability and some pretty good pop, and so a little bit of power to develop. Hopefully he can continue to develop and get better and better. Benny Montgomery has made it back to single A plus. He started the season in single A. He's had a good season, but it's probably all mostly defense, although he's been okay on the offensive side. We're still looking to see if he can develop into what he needs to be. He's almost done developing except for the power. So it's an interesting situation with Montgomery. He could be really good. He could also be a bit of a bust. Another person who could be a bust, whether or not this power comes around, is going to be Yanquiel Fernandez. This is going to be one of our bigger sluggers who could be playing in right field as of, well, maybe next year. He's had 25 home runs in double A. He is up to triple A now at this point, as we hit the first year player draft, because we get so many kids, we get 20 of them. We've decided to go ahead and make some moves, release some people, call up some people, and just be able to actually move some people around, move the deck chairs on the Titanic a little bit here. Zach Veen, another person who has been having a up and down season, hasn't quite been as good as we'd like to see from him. We're still hoping that he might be able to develop into something, but the time is ticking, unfortunately, on Zach Veen, and sooner or later we're going to have to move on. Bernabel has been pretty good in, I think it was, single A plus. He really should be in triple A, but we're hoping that he can start to develop. I really did train him in a different position, something that he could actually play. Otherwise, he's a DH for life, and that's just not really going to work for us that well. Otherwise, we've had some interesting developments on the rest of our entire team. We had some budgeting things that happened in the beginning of the regular season. The owner came through and actually changed some things, so we've had to go and just make sure that stuff is working correctly. I will again be double checking and making sure that the international amateur free agent budget little bug here gets fixed before we hit the scouting period, or at least the signing period next year, just in case that is having a problem. We are still ranked the #1 overall minor league prospect system, again, mostly because we had Condon moving up to 3rd overall and Dominguez being 5th. So when you get probably the best pitching prospect in baseball, which, if my memory is correct, we do have the best pitching prospect in baseball. We do, right? In front of Andrew Painter and Misiorowski. So, I mean, we have someone who's considered better than Andrew Painter. That's a great sign. That would be a world-changing difference for the Colorado Rockies in real life when they would, if they could ever get somebody like that. So having him and potentially Dollander developing, I don't know. We'll see about that. It's been a good year so far for the minor leagues. If we go to our development, you can see the Isotopes are 8 games out of first place, but they're over 500. The Yard Goats are over 500, but they are 11 games behind. The Spokane Indians are 619 winning percentage, so they are well over 500. They are 7 games out somehow of first place, and then the Fresno Grizzlies, our single A team, is just destroying single A. And then of course our rookie system has been having a fantastic season because we filled the entire organization with really good players, and they just got refilled. So we'll talk about our draft picks here in just a second, but they've been doing very, very well. Every single one of our rookie ball teams is just going to be really good because, again, we are re-depthing is how I want to say it. We are basically recreating the entire depth chart of our entire minor league system. We are reapplying ourselves to getting more and more of these really good younger kids and people who will be able to fill the depth of our minor league system, so that way they're all being successful. And being successful in the minors just basically means that the morale of the team is going to be good. They're going to have good chemistry. They're going to be happy. And I'm not entirely sure that that's the biggest development tweaker or enhancer. But I have noticed that when teams win games and the people are happy, the morale is good, development seems to just happen more naturally. And it just seems to come in better waves when the team is actually happy. Now, in regards to our majors, besides losing what are we now, 2nd worst, I believe, in the big leagues. I believe we are technically the 2nd worst team in baseball. We have a very happy team chemistry. We are actually doing fairly well, and the team is doing about as well as expected. The owner had his halfway season goals, and he was like, I'm at least happy with you right now. As you can see, he's happy, even though we're not hitting most of our goals at this point. But again, we are basically in complete rebuild mode. That is our whole entire thing. Even though we're neutral right now on team focus, we are in complete rebuild mode right now. And we still have a little bit of budget to work with, so we're still hoping to be able to potentially either eat some salary by the end of the season, by maybe the trade deadline. We might be looking to get rid of some of our higher priced people who maybe could fetch us a prospect or two. I don't know. We really need to be able to quickly build around Tovar and I said it'd be Doyle and potentially Fernandez, people who are like knocking on the major league door. We need to be able to build around them quickly so that we don't waste the window that our first wave gives us, and then develop our second wave shortly after that to be able to basically fill in the gaps as people leave because they demand too much money. Because that's what's going to happen, is that the first wave is going to be all about, getting some kind of a good product on the field, and then the second wave is going to be all about building the dynasty that lasts for a long time, because that first wave, you're not going to have the money to keep them all. So you end up having to pick and choose like the most reliable, youngest of them all and keeping them while getting rid of the rest of the entire group. So With that all being said and done, I went ahead and made some short lists so you all can see kind of what's been happening. So these were the original players we got during quarter 1. This is all of our international signings. So you can see we've got Dominguez, we've got Diaz, and Polonia's here. Miguel Silva is here. You can see he's already kind of going down in his development. He was a 3-star prospect. He's now down to 2.5 stars. So not quite getting the results we wanted out of Silva right now. But we still have Toralva, one of our closing pitchers / relief pitcher options at this point, as well, of course, as Diaz. So we'll have to see how they both perform. But then, of course, we are just waiting and praying that Richard Dominguez is our savior for the pitching side. In regards to people we've actually discovered over the course of the 2025 season, Sergio Caro is one of those. He was a discovery on 309. And we've had also David Chavez and Bobby Cintrone. We've had a lot of 2-star people on this list. So international discoveries for 2025, not going to be that great. And I am looping in the international amateur signable players, the ones you pay for. I'm just throwing those in there as well because it's just as easy to do that. In regards to our draft, now, there are certain players that have not officially signed with us yet. So there are still some people who are up for negotiation. That would be, of course, Quentin Young, our 1st-round pick. Stroman is our 2nd-round pick. 3rd-round pick is Talon Haley. Schoolcraft is our 4th-round pick. Matthias, I think is how it's pronounced, is a 5th-round pick. He's out of college. And then, of course, we have our 7th and our 9th round, all pending offers. We gave them what they wanted. So we'll have to see about Quentin Young. This is an interesting one. We're just going to start from the top down because it's probably going to be easier enough to be able to do that right there. This is our number 1 overall signing. This is our 1st round 7th overall pick signing out of high school senior of Oaks Christian out of California. I believe that's the same one, or no, same area I think that Nolan Arenado came out of. This is an interesting pickup because of that BABIP. If that BABIP develops, we might be able to develop the Avoid K a little bit more. This would be an excellent 3rd base prospect, which would be very reminiscent of Nolan Arenado, actually. If we can develop that 3rd base ability a little bit more, this would have the showings of a Nolan Arenado. If you can get that power maybe up there a little bit more as well, this is fairly close to a rough Nolan Arenado rookie at this point. So we're actually pretty happy with Quentin, even though I would have liked to have gotten something maybe like a pitcher. A 4-star 3rd base prospect is quite good for your 1st overall pick, basically. Of course, we had our 2nd overall pick, which I believe was Stroman. This was a shortstop, a little bit more geared towards 2nd base, but this is a good defending shortstop, and that's why we got him 2nd round, was because he liked the defense. This would be somebody that if maybe Tovar has to leave early, or maybe we have a 2nd base that suddenly opens up, this would be an excellent prospect if this develops. This would be something that would play. In regards to our 3rd round, that's when we finally got our 1st starting pitcher, and that would be Haley. Now, the 3 pitch options are not that good. The changeup needs to develop a lot. The curveball has a lot to develop. The fastball really needs some pushes on the potential. The control definitely needs to at least hit that 46 mark. Otherwise, he is a bullpen closer for life. And unfortunately, he's not a great personality, but he was the best person available at the 3rd round option for us at this point. And we liked the stuff. We thought that we'd be able to at least run with that a little bit. If he turns into a bullpen arm, that's fine as well. I would not have a problem with that being a bullpen pitcher. That's right. 4th round pickup was Cruz Schoolcraft. This is an interesting one. This is somebody that I actually have some previous knowledge about because he's a real-life actual prospect. He is a 2-way player, and you can see from his batting over there on the right side of the screen, he's not a bad batter either. If that contact gets a little bit better, he could actually play 1st base or DH and pitch at the same time. Now, the control is going to be the biggest problem with Cruz. We're definitely going to have to work on that with some player development. We'll definitely be working him through some labs to develop some control, see if he can get that up there. But if that control can get up to 50 or so, this is an excellent option as a 2-way player. You know, if you develop a little bit of that hitting and a little bit of the pitching, this could be good in either direction. So we were pretty happy to be able to have a chance at developing Schoolcraft, and we'll see how well he does. This is Matthias. This is our fifth round pickup. My apologies. Another pitcher at this point. Again, another person that we think we could develop a little bit if we get that fastball cutter up a little bit, get the control up a little bit more for potential. This is someone who could be pretty good. He's out of college, so he's semi-developed already. Not as much as we'd like to be, but the development is at least somewhat started already, and we're pretty happy to be able to have him on as another potential prospect for us moving forward in the regular season. The rest of our prospects were kind of just odd and ends people that we thought we saw some kind of a spark or something that we liked about them. Ben Jacobs could become something interesting if he can develop a little bit of his stuff. He's got a good personality, so he might develop pretty well. He's got good adaptability as well, so there's a chance that if we develop a little bit of stamina, we could really push his stuff up. And if we do that, we have all the time in the world to develop his movement and make it actually a decent enough person for us to have a shot at. Ty Abisco, another pitcher we picked up in the 7th round. We picked up a lot of pitchers actually this year out of high school, unfortunately. But we'll see how any of them develop and if any of them are able to be pretty good. This is another person we'd have to put a little bit of time into the stamina, though, to be able to improve that. This is one that I'm very interested in right here. This is Alexander Mercurius, not because of the name itself, but just because of the fact that this was an 8th round pickup. And this is very interestingly good for an 8th round pickup. Well balanced pitcher, 4-pitch repertoire, some decent stamina. Definitely could be an interesting prospect for us moving forwards at the age of 18. Only 5'10", so it'll be interesting to see what Alexander can do as he gets better and better, and if he develops into something interesting, or if he kind of is a little bit of a bust. So we'll see about this one. But this was another person that I thought was interesting on our list. Again, for like an 8th round pickup, this is pretty good. In regards to the Major League organization, we did have one really interesting game that I actually managed to spot while I was simulating through. Outside of all of our 54 losses of the regular season, we had this gung-ho game where we scored 25 runs against the San Francisco Giants, of which Tolia hit 8 RBIs in this game. Palacios had 2 home runs. Romo hit a homer. Doyle hit a home run. But Tolia, 5 for 6, scored 3 times, had 8 RBIs to his name, and Feltner and Gomber basically did a shared shutout for the entire game. I don't know what happened to the Giants pitching staff. It was Beck, Ray, Weisenhunt, Duvall, Yelly, and Hicks. It was just an onslaught of Rockies offense, and in a season where we are absolutely falling apart in every other way, it was absolutely phenomenal to see Tolia be able to be batting 300 and have 33 RBIs. At the moment, he is now batting 255 with 48 RBIs, so it has not gotten any better since that moment, but at least it was a little glowing moment of surprise for the organization, to say the least. It has not quite gone so well since then. Somebody who actually has been a little bit of a breath of fresh air has been Chris Bryant, actually being a productive right fielder for us. As you can see from his WAR and, the OPS plus of being 102, which isn't anything to really be amazed by. But considering that his average for most seasons has been at least 20 points below or so, having him actually be league average for hitting and actually a semi-decent right fielder has been such a blessing for his $26 million paycheck. He actually even got Player of the Week awards, I believe, at this point. He did. He had a 9 for 19 week with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. So he's been off and on actually productive. I wouldn't say he's anywhere worth $26 million, but I'm not looking to trade him until further notice, because a 3.3 WAR player is at least okay at this point. So we'll see. Maybe I'll dangle him at the trade deadline and we'll see what happens. Our video here will actually be simulated all the way up to the trade deadline for quarter 3, and that is where you guys will actually be able to see how we're doing by quarter 3. So with all that being said and done, I think that's pretty much it for quarter 2. We're not doing very well on the Major League side of things. We're 19 and a half games back of the Padres, of all teams. The Padres are leading the league, or at least they were at one point. They were leading the league at one point in runs scored and runs against. We are actually second in runs scored, but we are not anywhere close on the runs against. The Padres have had a phenomenal regular season. It's it's just been really good for them. They've had a lot of production from a lot of their players. They have some really good pitching people on their list and a really good bullpen. And another thing to note, though, would be the Milwaukee Brewers. As you can see from their runs scored, this is the team that ended up getting Juan Soto. Somehow, some way, they picked up Juan Soto, and they're playing him at first base. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. Yes, first base. He is their cleanup batting first baseman. He has taken a Bryce Harper approach. He is now officially their cleanup first baseman, and he's been good. He's been very good for the organization. I would imagine that someone like a Garrett Mitchell, I would find much better with the statistics he's had so far this regular season, but that's just me. But regardless, the Milwaukee Brewers, who just took us down in the last game before we did this recording here, are technically in first place, but not by much, over the Pittsburgh Pirates at this point. Best teams in the league are currently the Tampa Bay Rays and the San Diego Padres, and that's because the Rays have got, I think this is National League right here, unfortunately, for statistics down the bottom. But if we go back to standings, and if we go to expanded standings, there you go, they have a 94 run differential, which is almost about as good as the Texas Rangers, who have only won 51 baseball games. So the Rays are third in runs scored and ninth in runs against. Basically, they are a very efficient team, very good defensive organization. Ooh, they picked up Perdomo. That's right. Oh, that's right. I need to show you guys something as well. The D-backs traded away Gallen. And of course, I spell his name wrong, and I call myself an Arizona fan. Zach Gallen got traded not to the Tampa Bay Rays, to the Baltimore Orioles, of all teams. They ended up trading him for Enrique Bradfield Jr., who is a very highly touted outfield prospect due to his speed. However, his bat is not that good. He's basically Billy Hamilton Jr. II. That's what he is. But they also traded him for a better prospect, albeit. This is Samuel Basallo. This is the number 17 overall prospect. But the D-backs do not need a catcher. They have Gabriel Moreno. So I don't know what the AI was thinking, picking up basically who is a 2-year younger version of Gabriel Moreno in Samuel Basallo. When you compare the two of them, you've got a 25-year-old Moreno versus a 20-year-old Basallo. So 5-year difference, but they are very close to being basically the exact same type of player in regards to a good defensive catcher who's got a little bit of bat in different areas, and Basallo's not even actually as good as I thought he was going to be. So I have no clue why the D-backs did that. They are still in second place of the division, which is interesting to note. They've got a positive 21 on the run differential, but they're better than the Dodgers, so OOTP works? I don't know. They have been running Brandon Pfaadt, Puck, Montgomery, Rodriguez, and Drew Jameson in their starting rotation now for most of the regular season, and it is actually kind of working. The bullpen has been really good. They are technically really good on the bullpen side of things, mostly because they picked up Ryan Helsley, which the real-life D-backs should do as well, in my opinion. But, of course, they still have Justin Martinez, who is a very good relief pitcher. I've actually seen a save where the AI traded for Justin Martinez, made him into a starter, and he was a 4-star starting pitcher. I don't know why. Do not ask me why. It shouldn't be able to do that. But they've got a really good bullpen. The offense has been decent enough. Marte is having a phenomenal regular season for the D-backs. It's going to be another Marte world for the D-backs at this point for their offense. Corbin Carroll up there in the stolen bases, a little bit of 20. Not exactly a thriller season for Corbin Carroll, but still developing back up into that superstar ability for him, and he should be just fine. This is, of course, the first full season for Jordan Lawler, I believe. This is their shortstop of the future, replacing Perdomo, basically, at this point. He's been having a pretty good season. He's got double digits in the doubles, triples, and home runs, so it's not been too bad. Double digits on the stolen bases. He's a decent enough shortstop, but we'll have to see what happens with him down the road. Speaking of shortstops, actually, before we go ahead and end this video and let us go ahead and simulate up until the next quarter, Tovar got injured in the early parts of the regular season. You can see that's why he only has 37 games played. That basically means he missed about 50 baseball games for us, regretfully. But he is back. He's batting .349 for the regular season, a 2.1 WAR season. For basically, he's going to get maybe a third of a regular season in, and he's projected to have almost a 4 WAR season for a third of a regular season. So we are still highly loving Ezequiel Tovar and expecting good things out of him. Otherwise, in regards to the rest of the organization, Ryan McMahon is going to be our other big standalone person right now. He's got the 18 doubles, 17 home runs. He might have a season high in homers by the end of the year at this point. 32 is his projected. That would be a new high, and a 2.8 WAR would be close to his career high, I believe, in regards to having a phenomenal season. He'd be looking back at 2021, 2022, where he was doing, almost a 30-20 season. He's done that a few times, and there's a good shot that he might be able to have a 30-30 season this year. And he unfortunately would be somebody that I would dangle at the trade deadline if I needed to. So we'll have to see about Ryan McMahon. When we get to our quarter 3 video, I will probably be up to the trade deadline. If not, we will be all the way up until the playoffs beginning, and we'll be able to tell you all exactly what we did for our Colorado Rockies. I'll see you all in quarter 3.